Hello, sweet friends, and welcome to stellarjstudios. I am Gina, and I am so glad you are here with me today. It has been a while since I have done a journal flip through, so I thought I would show you guys this, and I posted it on Instagram quite a while ago because I think it says I started it in May 2023, but it's not really a journal as much as it's more like a sketchbook. So this was where I was starting to shift from my normal journal routine, which I still do, into more of a sketchbook type of practice book, a place where I could do studies of different materials and different compositions and different colors and just practice my skills. So here we go. Let's flip through this. And so you can see it is truly messy. I made this with wallpaper. So this was just some old wallpaper, and not vintage. When I say old, I mean probably, oh gosh, 1990s, 2000s. So it's definitely, got a poly or a plastic, a synthetic covering over it. And I love using those types of wallpaper. One, because, well, not a lot of people want to use them. People want to use like the 1950s and the 60s and all that good stuff. But I feel like, the 90s and the early 2000s to late 80s, hey, that was some interesting style. So yeah, let's embrace that. And because there's just something about the paper, the actual wallpaper, because I mean, think about its purpose. It was made to be put on the walls, and most wallpapers are scrubbable and, washable, and they're resistant to stains. And so that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted that durability. Now you can see that that's actually not true because I've been able to write on it, paint on it. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, so that's the cover. And then you can kind of look, it's just one signature. And then I made this cover a little bit longer. See if I can get it in frame here. A little bit longer just so that it folds over. And then I did some stitching. It was super easy for me to do because it was just for me, it was just easy to slap two pieces of wallpaper together and yeah. And run it through my sewing machine. If this journal, making this journal would be something that you are interested in seeing the process, leave a comment and let me know, because I would love to put that into my queue of future content for you guys. Okay, so here we go. So this book, how I used this book was I used construction paper, like it was a thicker type of construction paper, and it was white. And then I also had, let me see if and you can't see because the pages are all covered with paint, but I also had a couple of different papers in here. It was almost like a tag board. So they were thick. And if you could feel this, see if you can hear it, you can tell that this is a very thick type of paper because it's got so many layers on it. It was not thick like cardstock when I made it, but like I said, it was a very heavy construction paper, an inexpensive construction paper too. I think it was, I think the brand was True Ray, and yeah, and you can get it at like a craft store. I don't know if Michael's carries it, an art store. You can definitely order it online. Okay, so anyway, this was just a place where I would sit and just play with paint, ideas, colors, shapes. I was really working on line and shape in this journal. I would do a page, because I think this page right here it actually has like 3 different pieces, I guess is what you want to say. It started off as a floral. It started off as, and to be honest, I think I started off with some oil pastels. And so I have painted over that, which is a big no-no, because it's very unstable. You cannot put acrylic over, you can't put anything over oil pretty much and want it to stay forever. But this is not a masterpiece. This is just practice. So it started off as some florals, and then I turned it into, gosh, I don't even know what else I turned it into, but this is what it ended up. And I don't think I can put any more on this page because it's pretty full, but this is just layers and layers of paint and fabric. I was really working with lines and stripes and taking fabric scraps and using the shape that was already there. This is some heavier upholstery fabric, some crayons, lots of Mod Podge to stick stuff on, and then scraping back the layers of paint to reveal the stuff that's underneath. And that's one of my favorite things to do that I've discovered, is painting stuff on and then scraping it back. Again, if that's something you would be interested in watching that process, leave me a comment and let me know. Like, you guys are the ones that are going to drive my content. You guys are the ones that are going to tell me, hey, Gina, I'm struggling with this. Do you have any tips or tricks? And I get so excited when I try to solve problems like that. So yeah, let me know. And gosh, if I don't have a way of figuring it out, then we'll figure something out together. But I would love for you guys to let me know, what are those things that you're stuck on? What are those things that are holding you back in your art? This page was done, again, just with a lot of paint. And I'll be honest, if how I start my pages is, and if you watched in the last video that I posted when I was making the piece on a frame with, was about, oh, I think it was about the birthday cake. That's right. You saw me take excess paint and just paint it on the pages. That is how I do, that's how I do my journals. Like, I just take whatever page I'm working on. If I have excess paint, I flip to the next one and then I put down that excess paint. It gives me a good background to start with, so I'm not starting with a white page. And then I'm not wasting any paint, and then it just adds to those layers. So again, this is, this is thick. This is, if you could touch this, gosh, I wish we had touch of vision and you guys could touch this. But if you could touch this, you would see that it's just very layered and textured, because there's so many things that went underneath all of this. And again, I'm not looking for a finished product. I'm just looking for some exploration. And for this, it was just my use of black and my use of lines, because I struggle with using black. So just trying to use it, but using it sparingly. This was one where I was just using some collage. I think I took these little collage pieces right here from probably an old book that had some embroidery and lace and weavings and stuff. And I just took those pictures and put it on here. I think I found a picture of, I think that came from like a field guide or something. Just threw that on there, put some text, lots of paint. This one, I really love this one, and not because of like the composition or anything, because like this is a point right here that bothers me, because that, I don't like how it all came to a point. But what I do like about this is, when I started off, it was just all over the place. And then from there, like there were so many things going on, but from there I was able to pull out these shapes. So like, here is a shape, and here is a shape, and here is a shape. This is a shape. And then we've got these shapes. And so working on pulling out big shapes from a mess of markings and paint and colors, that I loved that because I was able to do that. I was able to take a hot mess and pull it out into some like recognizable shapes. And to me, because I always have houses in my head, that's what they turned out to be, to represent to me. Now they could represent something to somebody else, but for me, they represent like houses. I'm always drawn to this shape right here. This is just a bunch of just excess paint and just playing around with different types of paint, acrylic, and then some chalk pastels, and again with the black, trying to figure out how to control the black, which is very hard. You can see where it gets muddy over here and muddy over here. Really using white and brights to bring out things that I wanted to highlight. So imagine this was what this looked like before. And so after layer and layer, I was able to take this and I turned it into recognizable shapes. Now I'm okay with covering up all the stuff underneath because it's not about a product. This is about my process. This is about me learning how to be an artist. It's about me learning how to get what's inside of my head, what's inside of my soul, out onto some sort of a substrate. This happens to be paper, but it could be a piece of cardboard, it could be a canvas, it could be a journal page, and telling some sort of a story. And that, there is a story in here. It's a fragmented story, but there is a story in here. There are lots of things that speak to me in here. This little house right here, these shapes right here, the arches, these loop-de-loos, those show up all the time in my work. These just random marks, stripes, and line, and trying to take your eye all the way around the whole spread. That was something I was working on in this one. So this one, you can see I really started with a lot of line, going back and practicing my florals, adding different transparencies of paint. So whereas this one, they're all pretty opaque. I mean, you can see some of them are kind of translucent, but over here I worked with a lot of translucents. I was working on like making stencils and stuff and tracing those stencils. And so those stencils will actually, you can kind of see. Let me pull out some of my stencils. Stencils, I don't know why my words are not working today. So like, you know, taking this and just tracing it over and over and just kind of exploring that shape and that line. Here's a stencil I just made, but I haven't used it yet. But yeah, you can just like, I really was into this shape right here. It's kind of like an E. This looks kind of like an H or a Y. And then just kind of taking those shapes and seeing if I could pull out some sort of a story. Again with the shapes, again with the house. On this one, I'm just playing around with color. I did some collage. This is where I started to fall in love with purples, and I'm not a big, I've never been a big purple person, but I really started to love purple and how it would bring life to, especially when you pair it with like a yellow. And so I really started exploring with some purples. And so it's funny because from here on out, you're going to start seeing some purples. So again, this is dark. And I was exploring with darks and very opaques, making lines, making marks. And I love that sound. I love that scritchy, scratchy sound. Because it just means that there's so much texture and there's so much layers here. So this was good because it was showing me like how I could take dark spaces and what I could do with the dark spaces. I was also using like Stabilo, the woodies on this. I probably, and I'll be honest, I don't follow the rules of using oil pastels. So in here, that's fine. There are no rules. I'm totally okay. This is not going, you know, in an art gallery. This is me practicing. And the only way you're going to get better is if you practice. So using my my oil pastels, I love to put them in because you cannot compare the color, the vibrancy, the thickness, the texture, to anything. Like oil, it just is a completely different medium. And so oil pastels find their places in a lot of these pages that I did in my sketchbook. So if this was my exploration in dark, this was my exploration in light. I didn't actually paint through this. I think this is the actual paper showing through, but this was just me exploring, again, with lots of lines, some words, some different colors that I don't normally use. Again, with the stencils and the lines, seeing what comes through. So this was one of those ones that probably has 16 layers on it. It was very dark. You can see the darkness, and it was orange and it was black and it was red, and it was like totally not my normal colors, but I mean, that was okay because I was exploring. And then practicing a technique of, you know, putting paint over top of it and then pulling the paint back, taking off the stuff that hasn't already stuck, and then it reveals little bits of what you had behind. So like this was something that I had put in, and so I didn't paint over it with the green. And I just like to see this because there's serious contrast between the background and the foreground. And again, I'm exploring with purple and doing some drawing of line. So this one had some collage pieces, a little bit of fabric, working with translucent, so you can see how you can see through to the back, and then more opaque. So here's a science lesson for today. So light can either be opaque, which means no light goes through. So I always teach my kids no opaque, meaning no light passes through. Translucent, which is some light passes through, and then transparent, which is all light passes through. So when we're talking about things that are opaque, a lot of people will say transparent, but translucent means some of it will go through. Transparent would be completely clear. If you're talking about light. Now, if you're talking about pigment like paints and stuff, then it does take on a little bit different meaning. But I was really exploring the difference between opaque and translucency or transparency in this. And then just kind of using some black and white, some gray to tone down the colors. I really like this color combination. This is another one that has so many different layers, and this red is not a color I like, but it works in this. I was just playing around with the yellow and the pink, the white, the blue, and then coming in with that dark red. Again, there's some purple, practicing with my flowers and shapes. This one was lines, because I just was practicing making stripes and lines, and stripes. I love stripes. Like they talk to me. This, when I see stripes, it automatically takes me back to, my childhood, like just stripes in the 70s. Yeah. Like I don't know. There's just something about stripes. And so stripes, seeing how those work, and then taking some of my stencils and going over, you know, the shape on top of these stripes and playing around with different colors and really jamming on like the color combination of blues and oranges, and then throwing in these pops of green. This was just one of those crazy random pages where it just had a bunch of excess paint, and then I just kept adding to it and adding to it, again playing with lines and shape, stripes, adding different types of paint. So you can see I've got some flat paint, some matte paint back in the back, and then some more glossy paint up here. And none of this stuff is professional grade, top of the line. This is all just, you know, what I have on hand, a lot of craft paint. This is also where I play around with my gel pens. If I buy something that is a higher grade than craft paint, this is where I try it out, just to kind of see what it will do and to kind of compare it to the lesser expensive paints, and just to kind of see what the comparison is, and the results that I'll get. So this one, again, with the orange and the blue, lots of different line going on here. I had some white paint that had, gosh, I don't know, it had like a sheen to it. And so I was playing around with putting that down and pulling it back and putting it back down again. I was trying to like really work on my process. Like, how do I get to this point? How do I go from a blank page to this point? And so I was writing stuff down. It looks like I did this on June 17th. So I was writing things down, like my process, like step 1, here's what I did, step 2. And it was hard because it's not like a recipe. This is very intuitive. This is very much, the paint tells me what it wants to do. The page tells me what it wants to do. My hands tell me what it wants to do. My heart tells me what it wants to do. So it's not like step 1, do this, step 2, do this. So I had a hard time writing down all of my steps because they're just not, that's just not me. I'm not a step-by-step person. I'm more of a, hey, let's check this out. Let's see what happens. So I actually wrote these steps down after I had done it. So love the color and the vibrancy on this page. There's lots of fabric on this page. Some cool things that I did to pull back some of the color and show what's underneath. Random things that were on my desk, like price tags and labels from like, I think this was must have been a drink that we had gotten. And just, you can see the transparency and then the opaque, the lines and shape again. Looking for, and again, here goes my house shapes that I love. Here goes my loop-de-loops that I love, my arches. Just looking for like little bits in here that inspire me, and they're like, okay, this is cool. This reminds me of a rainbow. And so then from there, I take this and I'm like, okay, now what can I create where I use these same colors? Or how can I expand on these lines in the shape of a rainbow? And you know, from here, I'll take it and I'll go to another substrate, like a canvas or a cardboard, or just a bigger piece of paper, and then explore, taking just a little piece and exploring. I love this writing that I did right here. So I was really tapping into writing, but more of that asymmetric writing where you just make shapes, lines, and marks, and they don't necessarily represent any words. So this was an inspiration for the piece that I did last week, a video on with the birthday cake. The inspiration was, I loved these little, I mean, they could be candles, they could be flowers, but these little sticks with the pops of red on top of them. I don't know, there's something about that just drew me in. I'm loving the green with the red, and then the blue and the peach, or that pink color. Really working on my darks and my lights in here. again with some more floral practice and some shape and just a lot of mark making, layers and layers and layers on this. And you can see how my fingers are turning colors, because a lot of this is pastels and chalks and paints and crayons that they're not permanent. You know, they're gonna come up. And again, that's also because I'm using cheaper materials, and it's also because I didn't seal any of these. They are very unprotected, like they don't have a coating or anything on them. This one I was playing around with just some stencils, and then I really kind of got into this where I would take those shapes, those loop-de-loos, and kind of make a frame. And I really started to love this. And so here I was leaning into that and just kind of exploring what they look like. Somewhere along the lines at the end of this summer, this shape developed in my work, and I can't stop it. Like, I'm just in love with this shape. It just means so much. Like, it's representing so much. I can't tell you what it represents right now because I'm still trying to figure it out, but the shape speaks to me. And so this has really popped up a lot. And then again with my arches that I always turn into houses, or these triangular shapes. I'm just, whenever I see something like that, it always draws me to, okay, that's a house. Now, houses mean so many different things to me, but they just are something that brings me comfort. They're something that brings me a lot of memories, and they're constantly popping up in my work. Working again with some stripes, but this time like vertical stripes, like long vertical stripes with short horizontal stripes in the middle. This was a color thing. A lot of layers. I think you can see there was some purple underneath. This again probably has 15 layers or something, but what came to the surface was these blues, and then just playing around with these peaches and yellows and pinks, and seeing how they play with the different blues. Really starting to fall in love with these cobalt blues and how they mix with purples, and then playing off of those things that go together with colors that create some contrast. Some they're kind of like they're not going to be colors that make you feel calm. They're going to be colors that excite you. They're going to be colors that cause you to maybe experience a little bit of energy, or and not in a bad way, but a little bit of, anxiety. They're gonna be like, ooh, this is risky. I like this. It's kind of daring to put these together. And so that's kind of what I'm exploring here, because quite honestly, that's my personality. And then this is the end here, and I think I'm pretty much done, but this, again, this was so many different things. Honestly, this started off as a sketch. I was sitting outside one day this summer, and I was sketching, just took a piece of charcoal, and I was sketching the trees. So how the trees and my yard led out to the pond. And so I just sketched it, and I was so proud of this sketch because, like, drawing has never been my thing. And so I loved it. And so I kept it for the longest time and just kept referring back to it and looking at it. And then I was like, okay, I'm kind of over it. And so then I just started to put some paint on it. I'm okay with covering it up because it wasn't, excuse me, it wasn't a piece that was like something I wanted to hang on the wall. It was a process piece. It was a piece that I was using to get to another level in my art. So then I just put some paint on here that was from another project. And I think this was in the video I did last week about the birthday cake. And then I had some collage material on my desk, and I just recently added this this week. And yeah, you know, I think this book is done. I don't think there's anything else I can add to it. And so these are just things that I've written down, just little notes. And, you know, I just wrote with a Sharpie marker. And so this sketchbook is complete. It's done. And now what do I do with it? Well, I pull it out and use it as reference. I pull it out and look through it as I'm trying to come up with something, if my mind is blank and I can't think of anything I want to create. I go here and I find something and I say, okay, I love this blue with these oranges, reds, pinks, purples, and blacks. I also like this shape. So how can I expand on that? And then how can I pull in this dreamy white that I have here and have it go in and out of the painting? It's not just sitting on top. It's like going underneath and then it's coming back up to the top. And so then this is inspiration for another project or another piece or another page in another sketchbook or journal. So there you go, my friends. There's a sketchbook flip through. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love for you to comment. I would love for you to tell me things you would like to see more of. I would also love for you to tell me what is it in your practice that, whatever your practice is, your creativity practice, what is it that's holding you back? What is it that's causing you to struggle? Or what is it that you are stuck on? Like you sit down, you have a journal, you have your supplies, you have your cup of tea or coffee, and then you just sit there. Like, what are you looking for to help ease the pain of not knowing how to create or what to create or when to create or where to create? What are some things that I can help you with or try to figure out how to help you with? All right, my loves. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I shall see you next time.